Hey guys, imagine waking up to serve, not to live. You wake before the world does. There's no sun yet, only a blue-black stillness pressing against the windows and the creak of floorboards under your bare feet. Your bed is narrow and hard, tucked against a cold stone wall in the attic quarters reserved for the lowest servants. There is no fireplace up here, no warmth, save what your wool blanket and dreams gave you during the precious few hours you were allowed to rest. You dress quickly, fumbling in the dark. The fire hasn't been lit yet in the scullery, so there's no hot water, no light, no comfort. Just you, your stiff regulation clothing, thick apron, worn-out boots, sleeves rolled up, and the cold, damp morning air. Your first task is to make the house come alive, quietly. Downstairs, you pass through hallways that seem like tunnels. Every sound echoes. A door latch clicking shut. Your steps on the servants' staircase. The rustle of your apron as you walk briskly to the scullery. You begin with the grates. One by one, you clean out the ashes from the fireplaces. Your hands are black with soot in minutes, and there are 20 or more rooms to tend. The grates must be cleaned perfectly, or the butler will notice. And if the butler notices, so will the master. After the ashes, you lay the fires, kindling first, then coals. You strike a match with shaking fingers. The flare of flame seems unnaturally bright in the still dim room. One fire down, many to go. You make your way silently through drawing rooms, studies, and sitting rooms, dusting as you go, checking windows for frost, straightening chairs that nobody has touched. It's like working for a ghost, someone who might appear at any second but isn't here yet. You must make it all perfect before they arrive. You aren't meant to be seen doing it. The ideal servant is invisible. The room must appear as if it has cleaned itself. By the time the rest of the household stirs, you've already been working for nearly 2 hours. The sun has begun to rise, casting a weak gray light over the estate. The upper halls grow warmer with the fires you've lit. You hear the clink of kitchen crockery now, the murmur of the cook and the scullery maid, and the familiar cough of the gardener trudging in from the cold. You return briefly to your quarters to wash your hands and change aprons. You're still dusty, but there's no time for vanity. Today is just beginning. Next, you prepare the rooms for the family's morning rituals. Towels laid out, fresh water poured into basins, hairbrushes and mirrors placed just so. A letter from the post arranged on a silver tray. Everything must appear effortless. The bell rings, sharp and shrill. You startle slightly, though you've heard it thousands of times. It's the master, awake. It begins again. The rush, the precision, the tight-lipped courtesy. You take a deep breath, glance once more at your reflection, not to admire, but to ensure your cap is straight and your collar clean, and head upstairs. You aren't one of the senior housemaids, so you won't be drawing baths or tying cravats. But your place is equally essential. You're the silent hand that adjusts a curtain just before breakfast, the shadow that sweeps away footprints on the marble hallway, the blurred figure carrying a tray from the kitchen to the parlor. Always quiet, always just out of sight. It is only 7 a.m., and already your back aches. The strange part is, you barely think about it anymore. This is your world. The stone corridors, the echoing halls, the endless repetition. Time here doesn't pass like it does outside. It circles. One day is the same as the last, and the next will mirror both. You don't mark time by seasons, only by duties. The flowers in the drawing room will change, yes. The guests will come and go. The child of the house will grow taller. But you remain fixed, a part of the house itself, like a brick in the wall, a rung in the ladder. By now the household is fully awake. Voices rise upstairs, and footsteps begin to echo. The house comes alive, and you vanish into the walls. You descend again toward the warmth of the kitchen, not to rest, never that, but to prepare for the next round of tasks. Today is Thursday. That means polishing silver. You allow yourself a small sigh, then straighten your back. Another bell rings. You move without a word. The house has no patience for pause. You are a servant. This is your life. And the day has only just begun. Downstairs, the house never really sleeps. Even when the family is tucked warmly into bed and the grand chandeliers are dimmed, something is always moving, always creaking, always needing attention. But in the mornings, like now, it begins to pulse with a different kind of life. Quicker, sharper. You can feel it in the vibrations through the floorboards as boots move overhead, in the clatter of breakfast trays being arranged, in the shouts from the cook about underboiled eggs or lukewarm tea. You move through it like a ghost in a rush, a silent figure sweeping up after yesterday's footprints and preparing for today's new parade. The polished mahogany gleams under your cloth. The mirror in the front hall shows no smudges. The banister you dusted twice now feels warm to the touch, a sure sign someone of importance has already brushed past it. There is a system to it all, even if it feels overwhelming at times. You sweep in straight lines. You polish with circles. You remember which parts of the house are touched most often and which corners are forgotten but still watched. The drawing room must be immaculate. The study must smell faintly of lemon oil and not of the soot you had to scrape out at dawn. The sitting room, where the ladies will take their morning letters, must feel like it woke itself. This house has rhythms, and you've learned them like a second heartbeat. And the house is enormous. 27 rooms, not including storage closets and pantries. 3 floors above ground, a cellar, an attic, 2 staircases, one for the family, winding and grand, and one for the servants, narrow and wooden, your daily path up and down. You've taken each stair so many times that you know the one that creaks worst, third from the bottom, left side, and how to avoid it at night. You know which window won't latch properly and leaks rain in the library. You know the loose tile in the butler's pantry and where the best drafts come in on a summer day when no one is looking. The family might own the house, but you know it. That knowledge doesn't bring comfort, though, only more responsibility. When something goes wrong, the master doesn't fix it. The mistress doesn't notice it. You do. And if you don't fix it, someone like the butler will. And then you will be in trouble for not having done it first. There's a sharp edge to the calm here. Everything gleams, but the tension hides under it like dust under a rug. Mid-morning now. The breakfast has been cleared from the family's dining room. You carry dishes down 2 at a time, careful not to chip the porcelain. You didn't speak. You weren't spoken to. That's as it should be. Now you're in the long hallway that leads from the pantry toward the music room. You're polishing a row of silver picture frames set into the wainscoting. It's a mindless task, but you still need to pay attention. One of them always tilts slightly. You fix it now. You don't know who the people are in the photos. Old relatives, maybe. Dead now. Rich faces, solemn expressions. You wonder if their servants knew them as you know this house. If they too cleaned these frames and dreamed of being anywhere else. The sun is fully up now, slanting golden through the high windows. It's warm in this corridor. You allow yourself a moment, one breath, to pause. Then you keep going. Downstairs in the scullery, the younger maid is scrubbing something ferociously. The cook is bellowing again. You catch snatches of it as you pass the kitchen door. Something about overdone scones and a visitor arriving early. Another guest? That means more linen, more luggage, more service, more eyes watching. There's always someone watching. You make your way to the upper rooms again. A spill has been reported in the nursery. You don't ask what caused it. You don't need to. Children make messes. Servants clean them. The governess nods at you stiffly when you arrive, and you nod back. She doesn't speak to you unless necessary. She considers herself above you, though she eats in the servants' dining hall too. Still, she gets to wear softer colors, use the front staircase, and sometimes dine with the family when guests are around. You clean the carpet quietly. The boy of the house watches you from his little chair. He has a wooden horse in his hand, and he rocks it back and forth against his knee. You wonder if he even knows your name. You finish quickly, avoid eye contact, and leave without a word. Down the servant's stairs again. Your knees ache today. The next bell rings before you can catch your breath. It's time to polish the candlesticks in the dining room. You head there now, careful not to scuff the floors. This is what your day is. Not one task, but hundreds. Little ones, always coming, never stopping. The house hums around you. It drinks your time like water. You're the one pouring. You don't think anymore about how strange it is to live like this, in service of someone else's beauty, someone else's comfort. You've trained yourself to feel proud when a corner gleams, when the linen is crisp, when the fire you lit makes the master's study warm without smoke. You've trained yourself not to wonder what life is like in a house where someone else wakes before you to light your fire. You hear the rustle of silk before you see her. Upstairs, in the master bedroom, the mistress is preparing for her day. She doesn't dress herself, of course not. That's your job, or more precisely, the job of the lady's maid. But you assist where needed. And today, you've been summoned to bring in the new gloves that arrived from town. You knock softly on the dressing room door and wait. A pause. Then a clipped yes from within. You enter with your eyes lowered and hands folded, the gloves laid neatly over your palms like a sacred offering. The lady's maid takes them with a nod and a whisper of thanks. She is kind to you when no one's listening, but never in front of her mistress. Inside, the air smells of perfume and starch. The mistress sits at her vanity while her hair is being pinned, a thick cascade of dark curls now being sculpted into something sleek and formal. She doesn't acknowledge you. She's focused on her reflection, tilting her chin as the maid adjusts a pin. Her gown, forest green silk trimmed with lace, is already laid out on the bed. You glimpse the delicate shoes peeking out from beneath the hem. You retreat quickly and quietly. You've done your part. But even those few minutes upstairs leave you feeling watched, weighed, and dismissed. Being in the family's presence is a balancing act, invisible but useful, silent but responsive. You've seen servants dismissed for speaking out of turn or even looking too long at a guest. A wrong glance can be seen as forwardness. A wrong silence can be seen as insolence. Back downstairs, the tension slips off your shoulders a little. Not entirely, but enough that your lungs expand more easily. Now it's time to help the valet with the master's dressing. You don't go in. That's not your station. But you carry in the polished shoes, set them on the rug just so, then quickly vanish. You know the rhythm here, too. The valet murmurs softly, helping the master into his waistcoat, offering suggestions on the weather. Looks damp today, sir, while checking the cufflinks and collar. The valet, unlike you, gets to speak. He's the master's shadow, not his furniture. But still, he bows when dismissed, just like everyone else. Once the family is dressed and breakfasted, the real work begins. You're part of the team preparing the rooms, changing linens, fluffing cushions, brushing specks from velvet chairs, folding shawls that were only touched once. You head to the drawing room. You fluff the pillows on the fainting couch, straighten the magazines, then kneel to pick up a needlepoint hoop that someone left under a chair. A servant should never seem curious, but still, your eyes flick toward the pattern on the hoop. Roses and thorns. It's only half done. Just like everything else in this house, half used, half finished, always being replaced. Your next stop is the main staircase. The banister must shine, the red carpet must be free of lint, and not a single brass rod securing it should look dull. This is where guests form their first impressions. This is the house's front face, and therefore your most exacting performance. You dust, polish, and vacuum in neat lines. You move silently, as if your body has no weight. You aren't meant to be heard, especially not by the family. By now, it's nearly midday. You haven't sat down once. Your legs ache. Your hands are raw, and there's soot under your fingernails that you'll scrub off later. Or not. Sometimes it doesn't come out. Sometimes your skin just looks like that now. Worn, stained. Yours. One of the footmen passes by with a tray. You nod politely, but he doesn't respond. He's newer, taller, polished like the silver he carries. Footmen are prized for their appearance, for how well they present the house. Some are treated nearly as furniture themselves, silent, glossy, ornamental. You don't envy him. Not really. He's just playing a different role in the same machine. You head now toward the guest rooms, ready to prepare the east wing for Lady Margaret's visit. You haven't been told much, just that she's particular. That usually means more work, more checking, more cleaning for someone who may not even notice your presence. You strip the bed linens first. No wrinkles allowed. You check for dust behind the wardrobe, even though it's moved every week. You light the fireplace with practiced ease. Then you step back and look around. It's perfect. It has to be. Downstairs again. The head housemaid gives you a quick glance. She's stern but fair. She sees your posture slumping slightly and gives you a look. There's no room for fatigue. You have at least 8 more hours ahead of you. Probably more, if dinner runs late or if someone misplaces their brooch and sends half the staff searching. You've learned to expect nothing, to carry everything, to dress others and never own fine clothes yourself, to help prepare grand meals and then eat cold stew in a narrow hall with a tin fork, to be silent in rooms of music, to walk past chandeliers and never look up. This is what dressing the gentry is. You give them elegance, and take the weight of it on your back. By the time the family sits down to their breakfast in the grand dining room, your own breakfast has long passed, if you can even call it that. It was barely 15 minutes, a brief pause in the scullery before the cook shouted for more hands. You sat on a bench, spooned watery porridge from a chipped bowl, and exchanged a glance, not words, with the other maid beside you. There isn't time to talk. Not really. You eat quickly, knowing another bell could ring at any second, and it usually does. Now, upstairs, the dining room hums with quiet conversation. China clinks softly against silver. and the smell of bacon, kippers, and toast wafts out of the doorway. You don't step inside. You're not allowed to. You wait in the hallway just beyond, ready to ferry any message or forgotten item. If something spills, you'll be called. If the milk isn't hot enough, you'll be blamed. But you'll never be part of what happens at the table. Not really. Below stairs, your own breakfast couldn't be more different. You ate in the servants' hall, a narrow, dim room with rough benches and long tables. The walls are bare. The fire here doesn't roar like it does upstairs. It sputters, struggles. Still, you're grateful for it. In winter, it's the only warm spot you'll see all day. There's a rhythm to servant meals. The cook eats separately. Her rank earns her a little privacy. The butler eats with the housekeeper at the head of the table, nodding once as you enter, signaling permission to begin. You take your spot without hesitation, always sitting in the same order. Seniority decides everything. Where you sit, when you speak, what you're allowed to say. You don't complain about the food, even when it's cold or tasteless. Complaints are seen as ungratefulness, and ungratefulness can lead to dismissal. And there's always someone waiting to take your place. After breakfast, there's no pause. Dishes must be cleared. Water must be fetched. Floors must be checked. The laundry needs sorting. The house runs like clockwork, and you are one of the gears. Small, replaceable, essential. Downstairs, everything is functional. Dark wood, stone floors, damp smells. Upstairs is all grandeur. Golden sconces, high ceilings, velvet upholstery. You live in the shadow of beauty, making it shine without touching it yourself. Sometimes, while walking through the upper halls, you catch your reflection in a mirror. You barely recognize the girl staring back. Pale, tired, hair pulled tight under a cap. No jewelry, no softness. You weren't always like this. But the house changes people. Quietly, like water shaping stone. The servants' quarters aren't places of rest, just temporary retreats between tasks. When you do return there, it's to change aprons or fetch cleaning supplies. The attic ceilings slope so low you have to stoop. The walls are thin. You hear coughing, snoring, whispered prayers through them at night. Privacy doesn't exist. Neither does silence. And yet, somehow, there's a kind of closeness. Not friendship exactly. That's rare. But shared understanding. When someone's hands are blistered from scrubbing floors, you help without asking. When a maid is scolded unfairly, others glance at her with sympathy, even if no one speaks. Back in the kitchen, the cook is already preparing lunch. You catch sight of roast beef being rubbed with spices, of pudding steaming in cloth bags. The air is heavy with flour and steam. You love the smells, but know you won't taste any of it. The family's meals are made with care, presented on silver platters, and arranged with precision. Yours comes second. Often scraps, reheated, served once the family has finished and only if nothing's been ruined. Even water is different. The family drinks it cooled in crystal jugs. You haul yours from the pump outside, lifting the heavy pail with shaking arms, trying not to spill. No one thanks you. They don't need to. That's the way things are. As lunchtime nears, the footmen and parlor maids prepare the table again. You help with the final touches, folding napkins into fans, checking the alignment of spoons and forks, ensuring the salt cellars are full. Everything must be perfect, though it will all be undone within the hour. The butler inspects the room. He walks slowly, hands behind his back, eyes scanning every detail. He nods once. That means you did well. You say nothing. You don't smile. You simply nod and step back. That's as much praise as you'll ever get. When the lunch bell rings, you vanish down the hallway, melting into the shadows. Back in the scullery, you scrub your hands again, trying to get rid of the smell of polish and onions. Your fingers are red and sore. You stretch them once, then wrap them in a cloth and move on. There's no stopping, not for food, not for kindness, not even for exhaustion. You clean behind the pantry shelves next, then polish a row of silver cups that haven't been touched in months, but still must shine. You sweep, then re-sweep. You dust, then polish. You carry, fetch, fold, straighten. The hours disappear into each other like mist, and as the family dines above, laughing softly over their roast and wine, you crouch by the fireplace with a pail of soot and a cracked brush. Silent, unnoticed, vital. Down here among the servants, status is as rigidly enforced as it is above. You may all wear the same dull colors, eat the same bland meals, and sleep in similar hard beds, but make no mistake, there is a very clear order. At the top, the butler and the housekeeper. He oversees everything the master does not: wine, silver, pantry stocks, and every male servant in the house. His word is final. You've seen him reduce a footman to silence with a single raised eyebrow. He walks like he belongs in both worlds, the drawing room and the cellar, and when he enters the servants' hall, the conversation dies immediately. The housekeeper, on the other hand, runs your world. She controls the maids, the cooks, the cleaning schedules. She keeps the keys to the linen closet, the supply cupboard, the locked drawer where replacement candle stubs are stored. She notices when a rag is missing or a sheet is not folded to her exact expectations. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. Her approval is rare and therefore prized. You've seen girls cry after being called into her office. The rest of the staff fall into lines below them, like the steps of a stairway. After the housekeeper, there is the lady's maid and the cook. These two answer only to her and to the mistress directly. The cook is loud, precise, and quick-tempered. She doesn't like waste. She doesn't like laziness. But if you do well, she'll slip you a crust of fresh bread or a wink when no one else sees. Then come the senior housemaids, the ones who've lasted the longest and carry the keys to the upstairs rooms. They're quick and tireless, sharp-eyed and proud. You hope one day you'll be one of them. Then girls like you, lower housemaids, who scrub and sweep and take orders, always taking orders. Below you are the youngest, the scullery maids and tweenies, those barely old enough to hold a broom. They're up earlier than everyone and sleep later. They learn quickly, or they leave quickly. Then there are the men, the footmen, who wear powdered wigs and are meant to be as decorative as they are helpful. They carry trays, open doors, and attend to guests. They're expected to be tall and handsome, presentable ornaments. Some of them believe they're better than the rest of you. Some of them might be right. The coachman, who lives in the stables, rarely speaks. He cares only for horses. The gardener is the same, with dirt always under his nails and no patience for the household. It's a hierarchy of dust and silence. You know your place. You must never forget it. You walk with eyes down, speak only when spoken to, and always refer to anyone above your rank as Miss or Mr., even if they're only a year older than you. You once saw a maid speak out of turn to the cook. She was gone by morning. There's no room here for softness, only competence. Yet, within this rigid structure, you've learned to move, to thrive, in your own quiet way. You know who might cover for you if you're running late. You know which scullery maid to ask if you need hot water in a hurry. You know that if you mop the back corridor quickly, the under housemaid will leave you the warmest spot by the scullery stove. These are the trades that keep your days bearable. In the servants' hall, lunch is served later than the family's. It's always silent at the start. Grace said quietly, heads bowed. Then the scraping of forks, the clatter of plates. You don't speak unless spoken to. If someone has something to say, it's short and practical. Gossip is dangerous. Kindness, rare. After lunch, tasks resume immediately. You're assigned to check the library's windows. One has been reported as drafty. You climb the stairs again, dreading the stiffness in your knees. The house seems to grow larger every time you walk it. In the library, you slip inside and test the frames. Cold air seeps from one corner, just as reported. You check the latch, adjust the seal, and make a note for the maintenance boy. Then, you dust the shelves, even though they were done yesterday, because the master's sister is visiting next week, and she notices everything. Each book is aligned precisely. You brush the spines, careful not to move anything. The smell of leather and old paper clings to your sleeves. As you work, you think again of the order below the stairs, the quiet war of rank and reputation, how a scullery maid can one day become a cook if she survives, how a housemaid might become a lady's maid if she stays silent and fast and forgettable. You aren't sure yet what you want to become, or if you want to stay long enough to find out. Sometimes, at night, in the attic quarters, when your body aches and your hands throb, you dream of somewhere else. A small cottage, perhaps. A life without bells, without orders, without the smell of polish and linen soap forever staining your hands. But then the bell rings again, sharply, suddenly, and you tuck that thought away. You are a servant. You know your place. And right now, your place is by the east corridor window, where a guest's curtain has slipped. You move to fix it. Because if you don't, someone else will. And that someone might be your replacement. The chores never stop. That's one of the first things you learned when you joined the house. No matter how well you scrub, polish, sweep, or fold, it all has to be done again tomorrow. Dust returns, coal stains, mud tracks. Time undoes everything you do, and your job is to keep up, to fight it back, quietly, endlessly. Today, your list includes polishing the brass door plates, mending a torn curtain tie, hauling more coal to the nursery fireplace, and scrubbing the scullery floor before supper. None of these are considered hard tasks. Not really, but they add up. And when one chore ends, another begins. You begin with the brass. It's fiddly work. You kneel by the heavy front door, your hands red and raw from previous scrubbing. You mix the polish just right. The butler showed you once, and you've never forgotten. You work in tight circles, bringing dull metal to a quiet gleam. This is the part of the house that visitors see first. It matters. You keep your head down even when the front door opens and one of the family's friends walks through. He doesn't see you. He steps over your bucket. Not a word, not even a glance. Next is the drawing room curtain tie, torn again by the child tugging at it too roughly. You stitch in silence. Fast, clean stitches, just as the housekeeper expects. You use thread you weren't supposed to take, but no one will notice. If you'd waited for permission, the job wouldn't be done in time. Then coal. This is the part you hate most. You drag the heavy scuttle down the narrow corridor, past the warm hum of the kitchen. The handle bites into your fingers. The scuttle is old, rusted in spots, and always heavier than you remember. The nursery is 2 floors up. By the time you arrive, your breath is shallow and your back screams. The fireplace is barely burning. You kneel and open the grate, careful not to spill. You don't want soot on the hearth rug. It's white and delicate, and the housekeeper would see. You feed the fire slowly, layering the coal just so, coaxing it back to life. Your reward is the flicker of flame and the promise of warmth, though not for you. The room is already warmer than your quarters have ever been. The nursemaid nods as you leave. She won't thank you. It's not her job. And finally, the scullery floor. It's always damp here, and it always smells faintly of cabbage and ash. The stone is cold beneath your knees, and your rag soaks through quickly. You scrub in rows, careful to lift the grime from each groove. This floor feeds the house. Dirt here means dirt in the food. That can't happen. You finish, wring out your rag, and lean back for a breath. But there's no time to rest. The bell rings again. Every room in the house is connected to a system of pull cords and bells. Each bell has a label: drawing room, master's study, blue bedroom, and so on. You've learned to recognize each one by sound. The drawing room bell is quick and sharp. The nursery bell rings twice. The kitchen bell is dull and low. This time, it's the library. You rise and go. The library is cold. No fire was lit today. And the master is not there. Just a forgotten teacup on the side table and a half-open window letting in the breeze. You shut the window, gather the cup, and turn to leave. Another task. Another shadow erased. You return to the kitchen. Supper is being prepared now. A roast with potatoes and turnips, gravy simmering in a wide copper pot. It smells like comfort. You won't taste it. The servant's supper will be simple. Bread, weak broth, stewed root vegetables. You'll eat it quickly, quietly, at the long table in the hall. No seconds unless the cook is feeling generous. No laughter unless someone dares. And never with the family's food still cooking. You serve first, always. You help carry platters to the dining room. You straighten napkins. You smooth tablecloths. As you pass a mirror, you catch sight of your reflection again. Hair tucked. Shoulders hunched. Eyes downcast. You look older than you are. Tired in a way that doesn't sleep away. You walk back downstairs. A footman takes your place in the dining room, standing by the wall like a statue while the family eats. He'll stay there until dessert. You, meanwhile, scrub the pan that held the roast, your arms moving in rhythm with the other girls beside you. No one talks. The only sound is the splash of water and the scrape of steel wool. Later, someone will sweep. Someone else will stoke the kitchen fire. Someone, maybe you, will be assigned to clean the back stairs before bedtime. You don't question it. You simply wait for the next task, the next bell, the next thing that must be done to keep the house shining, running, breathing. You are not the master of this world, but you are its muscle, its memory, its maintenance. You are the one who makes the house beautiful, even if no one ever says so. By now, the sky has deepened into the color of weak tea, the soft gold of early evening slanting through the tall windows. The household has finished its supper, and the dining room is being cleared. Upstairs, in rooms you never enter without cause, the family is changing for the evening. The lady of the house into silk and perfume, the master into his evening coat. You know this because you've pressed those clothes, laid them out, and swept the rooms they'll glide through without thought. Downstairs, it's time for your own supper. Not a feast, no silver, no linen napkins, no cutlery worth polishing. Just the servants' hall with its long wooden benches, scuffed floor, and a meal that fills you just enough to keep you standing. You sit in your usual place, surrounded by familiar faces, the cook's apprentice too tired to speak, the scullery maid with flour on her chin, the tweenie half asleep leaning against the wall. No one talks much. Some complain in murmurs about the butler's attitude or the state of the mop bucket. But mostly it's quiet chewing, the creak of benches, the clink of dull spoons. You eat fast. You have to. Evenings mean more work, not rest. After supper, you're assigned to assist in the drawing room. It's a special evening. Guests are expected. That means polish and presents, presents and polish. First, the drawing room fire needs relighting. It's burned low again. You kneel on the ornate rug, shield the flame from a draft, and coax it back to life. You do it quickly, efficiently. Then you check the room. The chairs are to be at a slight angle, never square. The table has to gleam. The pianoforte is dusted, candles replaced, ashtray emptied should the gentleman smoke. Then the bell rings. Guests are here. You step back into the hallway as the front door opens. The guests sweep in with laughter and perfume, their shoes clicking sharply on the marble. You keep your head low and hands ready. You fetch cloaks, take gloves, hand them off to the cloakroom boy. You don't speak unless spoken to. Even then, your words are short. Yes, sir. Right away, ma'am. Upstairs, the drawing room buzzes with voices. A laugh here, a piano trill there, the rustle of skirts and the chime of a glass being raised. It sounds beautiful and far away. You're stationed just outside the door now, in case you're needed. You lean against the wall in the shadows, arms folded behind your back. Your legs ache. Your back is stiff. Your eyes droop for a moment. Just a moment. But you don't fall asleep. You never do. Sleep is a privilege, not a right. After an hour, someone calls for tea. You rush to the kitchen, gather the tray, cups, saucers, milk, sugar, the pot kept perfectly hot. You carry it with practiced balance, careful not to spill, your steps light but sure. The butler opens the door for you. You step in, serve, then vanish again, a whisper in the room's story. Later, more requests. Hot water bottles for the guest bedrooms. A forgotten handkerchief delivered upstairs. A candle to be trimmed. You run these errands without complaint. The thread that keeps the evening stitched together. It's late when the guests finally leave. You help retrieve their things. You hold the door. You bow your head as they pass, though your feet scream in protest. You watch them disappear into the dark in their carriages, wrapped in velvet and satisfaction. And still, your night isn't done. There's cleaning yet to do. The parlor must be straightened, the tea things washed, the floors swept again, the hallway cleared of footprints and coal dust. The rooms must be made ready for morning, already, even though it feels like the day never ended. You work in silence with the other girls. The cook has gone to bed. The butler retired to his quarters. The housekeeper lurks still, making final rounds. She watches you work but doesn't speak. Midnight approaches. You climb the stairs to the upper floors, a mop in one hand, a candle in the other. These halls are colder now, quieter. You move through them like a ghost. You know every creak in the floorboards, every shadow. At last, your final task, collecting the laundry left outside the family's rooms. You gather the linens carefully, pressing them flat with your hands as you stack them into your basket. Tomorrow, you'll wash them. Hours of boiling, scrubbing, wringing, drying. But not now. Now, you return to the attic. It's cold. You undress by candlelight, rubbing your arms to fight the chill. You fold your uniform neatly, always neatly. You tuck it beneath your bed where the mice won't reach it. Then you lie down. The bed is narrow. The ceiling slopes low. The silence rings in your ears. Your muscles twitch with memory of steps walked, trays carried, floors scrubbed, orders followed. You close your eyes and try to sleep before the morning bell, because it will ring soon. And when it does, you must rise again. You must be invisible again. You must serve again. This is life in a Victorian mansion, and you are the servant who makes it all possible. The next day begins before it ever really feels like the previous one ended. The bell in the hallway rings sharp against the stone, piercing the cold dawn. Your eyes open, heavy and dry. You sit up with effort, every part of your body aching like it's been wrung out and twisted tight. You dress silently. The same plain uniform, the same apron tied snug at your waist. Your cap is crooked at first. You fix it with fingers that feel too stiff for such small tasks. It's still dark outside, always is when your day begins. Back downstairs, the routine begins again. You light the scullery fire, then make your rounds to sweep out the fireplace grates. The coals are lighter today. Perhaps the household burned less yesterday, or perhaps you're just too numb to notice. The house is still asleep. You are its breath. There's a rhythm to it now, to this existence. The bending, lifting, lighting, sweeping, folding, carrying. A ballet of labor you perform daily, hourly. You don't think. You move. At mid-morning, you're sent to assist in the laundry. The laundry room is a realm all its own, hot, humid, and alive with the sounds of boiling water, sloshing basins, and the slap of wet linens on wooden boards. Your arms are plunged elbow deep in steaming tubs, scrubbing sheets that never seem to come clean, even though the family sleeps on them no more than once before they're changed again. There is soap in your eyes. Water soaks through your sleeves. The air smells of lye and metal. Rinse, wring, hang, fold, repeat. By noon, the kitchen bell is ringing again. The master has returned from his morning ride and wishes for tea. You wipe your hands on your apron, straighten your cap again, and go. The tea must be perfect. The water freshly boiled, the pot pre-warmed, the lemon sliced thin, the sugar bowl full. You deliver it silently, setting it on the silver tray with the grace of a dancer and the nerves of a soldier. The master glances at you, barely, and waves you off. You nod and withdraw. Back in the servants' quarters, the cook is furious. The butcher's delivery was late, and tonight's supper will be short a cut of beef. She snaps at the scullery maid, who passes it to you in a huff. You take it. What choice do you have? The kitchen is a hierarchy all its own, and your place is at the bottom. There is tension today in the air. The lady of the house is in one of her moods. Nothing pleases her. Everything is too loud, too late, too dusty. The housekeeper is on edge. The butler walks faster than usual. Bells ring more sharply. Doors close a little harder. You learn quickly, in service, to read the atmosphere the way one might read clouds. Trouble coming? Tread lightly. Don't speak. Anticipate everything. And for heaven's sake, don't make a mistake. Because mistakes mean punishment. And punishment, in a house like this, comes wrapped in cold courtesy and lasting consequences. By mid-afternoon, you're reassigned to the nursery. The nanny is out walking with the children, and the room needs a tidy. You clean the crumbs from under the little table, arrange the toys, fold the blankets. You find a forgotten biscuit behind the rocking chair and smile, just slightly, before disposing of it. Sometimes, in the nursery, you feel a flicker of something like peace. The sunlight through the curtains, the smell of lavender powder and chalk, the soft fuzz of a stuffed animal's fur. It's almost like another world, one you can't quite enter, but can observe from the edge. But not for long. There's always another bell, another step, another task. This evening, guests are not expected, but the family will dine formally. That means a change of linens in the dining room, the silver polished to a mirror shine, the crystal decanters filled, the candles replaced. You do it all under the butler's gaze. His eyes miss nothing. You manage not to tremble when he inspects the table setting. Knives angled properly, forks evenly spaced, the centerpiece not too tall. You've done it right. This time, dinner service is not your role tonight, thankfully. Instead, you're sent to help prepare the bedrooms. Each one must be perfect. Fire lit, slippers placed beside the bed, nightgowns laid out, curtains drawn, water poured into basins, brushes cleaned. You move from room to room like a shadow, your reflection flickering in polished mirrors, never lingering. You catch glimpses of yourself. Tired eyes, reddened hands, posture bent like the pages of a book, left too long open. It is nearly 10 when you're done. And still, the laundry from this morning waits to be ironed. Down in the steaming laundry room once more, you press sheets that will be slept on tonight. The weight of the iron almost too much for your sore wrists. The heat makes your face damp, the collar of your dress sticking to your skin. The smell of starch is overwhelming. Eventually, finally, the iron's cool. The linens are stacked, and the halls fall silent. You climb the attic stairs, bone-tired, throat dry, stomach hollow. You've eaten, but you're still hungry. A different kind of hunger, not for food, but for air, rest, meaning. In the dim flicker of your candle, you undress, wash your face with cold water, and slide into the narrow bed. Sleep doesn't come easy anymore. Your mind races, not with thoughts, but with actions. A checklist that never ends. A bell that might ring. A footstep that might echo. But eventually your eyes close, and the darkness welcomes you. You're woken in the same way every morning, not by sunlight or the sound of birds, but by the shrill, commanding ring of a bell. It might be the master needing his boots, or the lady requiring warm water for her washstand, or perhaps the housekeeper summoning the staff for morning duties. It doesn't matter what the reason is. When the bell rings, you rise. Your eyes open into dimness. The ceiling of the attic glows faintly gray. Outside, rain taps at the window pane, soft but persistent. Your joints creak as you sit up. Your legs ache as you pull on your stockings. Another day, another set of commands to obey. Rooms to clean, boots to polish, trays to carry. Downstairs, the fire in the scullery has gone out completely. The ash is damp. The wood won't catch. You kneel in front of it, blowing gently, coaxing it back to life like it's a stubborn animal. When the flames finally flicker up again, you don't celebrate. You just move on. This morning, you're tasked with boot blacking. The master has 2 pairs he wants polished and ready by breakfast. You take them down to the basement and begin. The polish stains your fingers black, even through the rag. The leather gleams by the time you're finished, and your back throbs from bending so long. You hear movement upstairs, the others rising. The kitchen groans into life, and the cook is already barking orders. Porridge, bread, dripping, everything hot, everything on time. In the pantry, you begin preparing trays. one for the drawing room, one for the breakfast table, and one, more carefully assembled, for the lady's boudoir. She likes her eggs soft, her tea just a little weak, her toast sliced corner to corner. You carry it up the stairs in absolute silence, your footsteps light, your head slightly bowed. If she's pleased, you'll hear nothing. If she's displeased, you'll hear about it all day. You leave the tray on the side table and vanish. After that, it's cleaning again. Bedrooms this time. You fluff pillows, sweep under dressers, wipe down mantles. One of the children has left a wet stocking on the floor. You pick it up, barely thinking about it, and return it to the laundry. Your hands are constantly in motion, that's the rule. Never stand still. Stillness is laziness. Laziness is disgrace. By mid-morning, the rain has stopped, but the ground outside is slick with mud. The gardeners track it in, unknowingly, carelessly, and it's you who must mop it up. The butler notices a smudge on the tiled hallway. You scrub it until it gleams again. Your break, if you can call it that, comes just after 11. 10 minutes in the servants' hall. Tea that tastes of old tin, a bit of dry bread, laughter if anyone has energy left for it. But you're too tired for jokes today. You sit quietly, rubbing your hands together to bring the feeling back into your fingers. The bell rings again. Back on your feet. Now you're off to the library. The master was reading late and has left books scattered across 2 tables. You collect them, dust them, and shelve them according to the butler's precise system. Alphabetical, by author, except we're grouped by subject. You learned that the hard way. Then to the music room, where the young daughter is meant to practice piano each afternoon. You dust the keys and close the lid. You polish the candlesticks and pick up a fallen handkerchief. You always wonder what it's like to have time for music. You're called to the kitchen next to fetch a tray for one of the guests. An unexpected arrival. The tray is heavy, and you carry it up with great care. The guest, an older gentleman, barely looks up from his newspaper as you enter the room. He mutters a thank you you're not sure is meant for you. You nod silently and leave. More cleaning, more polishing, more bending, lifting, and placing. Afternoon tea is approaching, and the family will expect the drawing room to be immaculate. You straighten cushions, brush crumbs from the carpet, and replace a vase that was slightly off-center. The cook hands you the tray for tea, scones, jam, thin slices of sponge cake, and you carry it upstairs. The drawing room is full now. Voices, laughter, the clink of porcelain cups. You move around the edges, unseen, like smoke. Later you help clear it all. Every crumb, every napkin, every teaspoon. And still there's more. The lady's dog has soiled the hallway rug. The housemaid assigned to pets is already overwhelmed, so you're asked to help clean it. You gag, but you do it. No one says thank you. By evening, supper is being served downstairs to the family. You aren't part of the service team tonight, so you're helping to prepare the bedrooms again. The eldest son's room smells of tobacco. You open a window, just a crack. You lay out his dressing gown, fluff his pillows, and sweep the ashes from his hearth. You catch your reflection in his mirror. Your cap slightly askew, your cheeks smudged with soot. You straighten up, staring into your own eyes for the briefest moment. Who are you? You don't ask anymore. It's near 10 when you return to the attic. The air up here is colder tonight, and you shiver as you strip off your uniform and fold it neatly over the stool. You wrap yourself in the coarse blanket and close your eyes. Your hands twitch in your sleep, still working, even in dreams. You don't dream anymore. Or, if you do, you never remember. Sleep is a thin, flickering thing, barely deep enough to pull you under before the bell drags you back out again. Most nights, you fall into bed with your body still humming from the rhythm of chores, the swish of skirts, the rattle of trays, the rustle of sheets. And then, like clockwork, it begins again. This morning starts with a frost. Your breath clouds in the attic before you even sit up. The glass of water you left beside your bed has a thin sheet of ice over the top. You run your fingers through your hair quickly, twist it up, and pin on your cap. The wooden floor bites into your feet as you dress. You don't bother washing. Not yet. There's no warm water this early. The scullery fires must be lit first. Today's breakfast is heavier than usual. The family is hosting relatives, 2 extra guests, which means more eggs, more sausages, more pots of jam to refill, and kettles to keep hot. The cook is already irritable. The kitchen air is thick with smoke and heat by the time you arrive. You're tasked with setting out the sideboard dishes, making sure everything is perfect before the butler makes his entrance to carry the trays upstairs. Then comes cleaning again. Always cleaning. The upstairs parlor needs special attention because the guests will be seated there after breakfast. The carpet is deeply worn, and there are spots that never quite come clean, no matter how many times you scrub. You do your best, dabbing at it with a brush and hot vinegar water. Later, you're called to help the younger housemaid with chamber pots. It's a grim job, but at least you're not doing it alone today. The 2 of you work in rhythm, emptying, scrubbing, refilling with water and lavender drops. You don't talk much. The smell makes you both gag, but this too is part of the rhythm of service. Mid-morning, there's an upset. One of the guests, the older aunt, slipped on a loose rug and demanded someone be reprimanded. The housekeeper arrives in a fury, blaming the undermaids. You didn't place the rug, but you're given a warning anyway. A mark in the book. 1 more, and it could be a deduction in wages. You nod and accept it. Defending yourself only makes things worse. By noon, the household is in full swing. The sound of voices and footsteps echo up and down the halls. The master is meeting with a solicitor in the library. The cook is shouting about overboiled potatoes. The lady of the house is preparing to host afternoon callers. You are everywhere and nowhere. The silver needs polishing again. The maid assigned to washing windows has gone home ill, so you're sent in her place. You spend nearly an hour perched on a small stool, cloth in hand, wiping pane after pane. The glass is icy to the touch. You can see your breath fog it up with every exhale. As you wipe, you catch glimpses of the outside world. A passing carriage, children playing in the lane, a dog chasing a bird across the lawn. The world beyond the estate feels strange, loose, wild, unregulated, and yet somehow freer. It's a world you don't belong to, and haven't since the day you entered service. Once the windows are done, you're given a rare task, helping in the sewing room. A lace curtain has torn, and the housekeeper doesn't trust the younger girls to fix it. You're called in because your stitches are neat. You sit at the edge of the chair, straight-backed, and work with tiny, precise movements. The room is warmer than you expected, and for a brief, precious moment, you don't feel cold. The fabric slips between your fingers like water. The housekeeper peeks in once, nods, and leaves you be. It's strange to be alone, strange to hear no footsteps, to sit without standing, to breathe without rushing, but not for long. Soon the bell rings again. You return the mended curtain. You sweep the hall where one of the children dropped a trail of crumbs. You replace a set of soiled linens in the guest room, then collect the bath towels for laundry. By early evening, your legs ache again. The guests are staying through supper, which means more work, not less. The dining room table is extended, extra chairs dragged in from storage. You help carry dishes from the kitchen to the hall, though you're not allowed in the dining room itself. That's the footman's job. Your world ends at the door. As the family dines, you help clear the guest rooms, fold clothes, shake out blankets, bring in fresh candles. Every corner of the house must whisper care and precision. Nothing must seem rushed or secondhand. You pass by the nursery and hear the children laughing. For a moment, your footsteps slow. You remember when you were that age, before the apron, before the bells, before you were someone else's shadow. Then you move on. Downstairs, the servants' dinner is cold. You eat quickly, seated at the long, narrow table with your fellow housemaids, the boot boy and the scullery girl. Everyone looks tired. Everyone has sore hands. Someone's eye is twitching from lack of sleep. And still, the evening isn't over. There are boots to black for the morning, dresses to lay out, ashes to clear from fireplaces. Finally, after your last task, delivering hot water to the ladies' chamber, you return to the attic. You peel off your apron, wipe your face, and slide under the coarse blanket. Your hands are rough, your back is sore, and tomorrow it will all begin again. Your eyes open before your mind fully wakes. There's no bell yet, but your body knows. It always knows. The same way a bird knows when to fly south or how the sea pulls the moon. It's instinct now, the pull of the day, the tug of responsibility. You stretch for just a second, muscles aching beneath thin skin, then rise. You're one of the lucky ones. You haven't lost your boots this month. The scullery maid had hers go missing again last week, and now she wraps her feet in old rags. The matron said she must have misplaced them, but everyone knows that isn't true. Things don't vanish on their own. Still, no one talks about it too much. Complaining is a kind of currency in the servants' quarters. The more you spend it, the less it's worth. Downstairs, the morning is the same as yesterday, and the day before that, and the month before that. A cold rag wipes the sleep from your face. You light the fire in the kitchen before the others arrive. It's quiet, not peaceful exactly, but expectant. You feel like the first domino in a long line. Once you move, everyone else must follow. As the day brightens, the house stiffens to attention. The mistress has a list today. She always has a list. But this one is long. She wants the upstairs curtains washed and the parlor cushions restuffed. The older housemaids grumble under their breath, but only when they're sure no one important is near. You don't say anything. You've learned the value of silence. Your morning is spent on your knees again, scrubbing the edges of the stair runners. The bristles of the brush dig into your palm. You think about nothing. That's the trick, not to think. Let the motion carry you. Let your body work and your mind float. The butler passes once without speaking. Just a nod. That's good. It means you're doing well. Later you help the laundry maid with pressing. The linen is heavy and stiff from drying in the cold air, and the irons must be constantly reheated by the hearth. You burn your fingers twice, but don't cry out. You've learned to move quickly, efficiently, without pause. In the afternoon, a dog throws up in the hallway outside the drawing room. You're sent to clean it. It's a terrier, owned by the lady's cousin, who has no sense of boundaries or personal space. You don't like the dog, but you smile and speak kindly to it as you mop the mess from the expensive rug. If anyone sees you treating it with anything less than affection, you'll be the one reprimanded, not the dog, not the cousin, only you. You don't complain. You just nod and scrub. At tea time, the guests leave, and the house breathes out. You're sent to freshen the rooms, fold blankets, puff pillows, relight the fire in the music room. The smoke makes your eyes water, but you blink it away. Sometimes you wonder what your life would have been if you weren't in service. You might have worked in a shop, married young, had your own little cottage. Or maybe nothing would have been better than this, just different. Still working, still tired, just without the grand staircases and embroidered sheets. The difference is, here, everything you do must be invisible. No one should know the effort it took to make the pillows plump, or the precise way you must bend your wrist to pour tea without spilling, or the number of times you bite your tongue every single day. By the evening, you've been working 14 hours, but you're not done yet. Dinner is formal tonight. The master is entertaining a business partner, and there are extra courses. That means more dishes to carry, more silver to polish, more footfalls in the hallway. You're not allowed near the dining room. That's for the senior staff. But you're trusted to stand by in case anything goes wrong. Once, early in your service, a dish slipped from your hand and shattered in the hall. The sound echoed like thunder. The butler's face was calm, but later you scrubbed floors for weeks as punishment. You never dropped anything again. Tonight goes smoothly, at least. The house glows with lamplight. Voices rise and fall behind closed doors. The clink of forks, the murmur of polite laughter. You move through it all like a ghost, touching everything but never quite present. After supper, the guest retires. The master praises the footman. The butler nods. No one mentions the servants by name. You carry the final dishes down the narrow back stairs, your arms aching. One slips slightly on the curve of your hip, but you catch it just in time. When you finally make it back to the scullery, it's nearly midnight. The dishes still need washing. The pots need scrubbing. You and the other maids work shoulder to shoulder, elbow deep in water that's turned gray with grease. Your knuckles crack, your eyes blur. And still, there's laughter somewhere upstairs. When the last pan is rinsed and the water drained, you dry your hands and walk back toward the attic. You climb the stairs slowly, careful not to wake anyone. Your steps fall silent on the worn wood. You know where it creaks and where it doesn't. You don't think of escape anymore, just of sleep. You curl under your blanket, the coarse fabric scratching at your arms, and let the dark take you. Outside, the world turns silently. Inside, your world is ready to begin again. The bell wakes you before your dreams have finished. You aren't even sure what you were dreaming about. Something soft, something warm. It slips away the moment your eyes open to the familiar darkness of the servants' quarters. The ceiling above you is still a shadow, and the air is cold enough to bite your cheeks. Your hands search for your apron and shoes in the dark, more out of habit than awareness. There's no time to think, just move. Downstairs, the kitchen fire has gone out again overnight. You kneel to relight it, your fingers trembling slightly with the cold. The flint catches on the third strike. Flame blooms, and you coax it gently to life. The warmth is slow to spread, but it will. You've done this hundreds of times before. The water pump groans as you draw a bucket, the iron handle cold against your skin. You haul it inside and begin your rounds, dusting, polishing, stoking fires. Your muscles work like clockwork. The ache has long become background noise. There's a broken window pane in the upstairs corridor today. You noticed it yesterday, but had no time to say anything. The wind is coming in through the crack, making the hallway colder than the rest of the house. You mention it to the housekeeper after breakfast, quietly, and she nods. "See if you can stuff something in it for now," she says. "We'll fix it proper after the weekend." You find an old scrap of cloth and wedge it into the corner of the window when no one is watching. It's a temporary fix. Like most things in a servant's world, patched, hidden, managed. Mid-morning brings chaos. A visiting cousin arrives early, unannounced. He's brought his dog. Again, a different one this time, larger, more excitable. The footmen groan under their breath as they carry in luggage. You are sent to prepare a guest bedroom that wasn't meant to be used today. You rush upstairs with fresh linens, struggling not to trip on your skirts. The room is dusty. No one has slept here in weeks. You throw open the windows and shake out the sheets. The mattress is heavy, and the feather pillows explode with fluff as you beat them back into shape. You finish in time, barely. Downstairs, the kitchen smells of baking bread and roast beef. Cook is in a rare good mood today. A letter from her son has arrived from London. She reads it out loud between chopping vegetables. You smile at the parts you hear, though you don't catch it all. You're running errands for the butler, polishing a tray, finding a missing decanter top, fetching the boot black for the cousin's muddy shoes. You're in 3 places at once, maybe 4. At lunch, a teacup is chipped. You didn't chip it. You know that, but it's found on the tray you carried. The housekeeper raises her brow. No punishment, not this time, but you feel the heat of her disapproval. You'll be extra careful for the rest of the day. You always are, but today more so. Later, you help with sewing. A curtain hem has frayed, and one of the master's shirts is missing a button. Your fingers work the needle clumsily at first. You've been scrubbing and sweeping all day, but they remember eventually. Stitch, pull, knot, cut, over and over. As you sit there, bent over the fabric, you hear the clock strike 3. Only 5 more hours until dinner. You go outside briefly, just to fetch something from the ice house. The cold wind hits your face like a slap, but you're grateful for the breath of fresh air. The estate is silent, the way only vast places can be. And you pause for half a second before heading back in. No one notices. Back inside, the maid assigned to upstairs linen has taken ill. Stomach flu, most likely. You volunteer to cover her evening duties. The housekeeper nods, thankful, though she doesn't say it aloud. She simply adds a new list to your already full one. By the time the evening meal begins, your legs are heavy beneath you. The parlor is too warm, the lamps flickering with golden light. The family laughs, real laughter, light and effortless, and you find yourself smiling for no reason as you pass quietly behind the butler with a refill of sherry. Later, you find a scrap of cake left over in the scullery. Someone forgot to take it. You eat it quickly, eyes darting. A stolen luxury. It tastes like sugar and cream in defiance. Night falls again. You put away the silver, stack the trays, check the fires one last time. Your apron smells of wood smoke and lavender polish. You think about a bath, but the basin upstairs is full and cold, and your bed is calling louder. Back in your quarters, the other girls are already half asleep. You slip into your bunk, pulling the coarse blanket over your head. Your body is sore in all the familiar places. Your fingers sting where the hot pot caught them earlier. Your mind hums with tasks undone, things to remember for tomorrow. But for now, just for a few hours. There's nothing more you must do. And so, you let yourself drift. You don't dream often anymore. The soft chime of the hallway clock stirs you before the bell does. It's still night, technically, not quite 5, but your body knows better than to argue. You rise without a sound, brushing the sleep from your face. The attic is cold, and the morning silence feels fragile, like a sheet of glass that might shatter at any moment. You move gently, quietly, so as not to wake the other girls. The first task today is a special one. The master's youngest daughter is celebrating her birthday, and the morning preparations must be immaculate. Every surface must gleam. Every hallway must be swept twice. The drawing room will be filled with guests by afternoon, and your hands will make it happen without being seen. You wrap your shawl tighter and descend the narrow staircase, shoes muffled on the worn steps. In the scullery, the hearth is barely embers. You kneel and start again, kindling, match, coaxing the flame to life like a secret you've kept all your life. The kitchen is busier than usual. Cook is already awake, muttering to herself about sponge cakes and icing. You help with peeling apples for tarts, the sweet smell waking your stomach. You won't get breakfast for a few hours yet, but the rhythm of the work is almost comforting. Slice, turn, core, toss, again and again. By the time the sun begins its climb, you're polishing the brass handles on the main staircase, the one guests will see. You scrub each one until your reflection stares back at you, warped in the metal. You've done this so many times that you barely notice the ache in your wrist. Mid-morning brings a flurry of bell rings. They come one after the other, from the mistress, the nanny, the butler. Instructions pour in, passed like whispers down the line. Bring fresh towels to the guest rooms. Move the armchair to the far window. Find the missing card table. You don't question, you just go. Upstairs, the child's room is bursting with ribbons and lace. You aren't part of the decorating team. That's left to the upper maids and the governess. But you pass through quickly and catch a glimpse of the girl spinning in a new dress. For a moment, she seems like a princess. You used to dream about dresses like that once. You carry a tray of tea upstairs to her visitors. One of the ladies glances at you but says nothing. You're not meant to be remembered. Not meant to be spoken to unless necessary. Like a painting on the wall, you are part of the setting, but never the story. Back in the kitchen, the pastry tarts have burned slightly. Cook is furious. You help remake them, working faster now. The day is accelerating. You've barely had time to breathe. You wash dishes, sweep ash, fetch ice, and return a book to the drawing room without leaving a single fingerprint. At noon, the guests arrive. You shift into a shadow. You carry trays, collect gloves, hang coats, open and close doors. Each gesture is practiced, invisible. The guests laugh loudly, their voices echoing through the great hall. You keep your eyes down, always 2 steps away, always alert. Someone drops a wine glass. It shatters on the ballroom floor. You're there before the butler can turn his head. You kneel quickly, scooping up the shards with practiced care. A lady murmurs an apology. Not to you, of course, but to the host, and continues her conversation. Your hand is bleeding, just slightly, from a small cut, but you don't stop. There are napkins to refresh, candles to trim, a tea urn that needs refilling. You pass a mirror in the hallway and barely recognize your reflection. The smudge of soot on your cheek, the tiredness behind your eyes. But there's no time for vanity. There's only time for work. By late afternoon, The birthday song echoes up the staircase. You're nowhere near the party now. You're scrubbing mud from the front steps where someone tracked it in. Your knees are sore from kneeling. The water is cold and brown, but the steps gleam when you're done. As evening falls, the guests leave, one by one. You help with coats again. Your stomach growls, but dinner for the servants is still an hour away. You've learned to ignore the pangs. You drink water instead. Upstairs, the drawing room is a mess. Crumbs, ribbons, forgotten gloves, spilled wine. You and the others move through it like ghosts, restoring order, resetting time. Later, when the house is quiet again, you find a ribbon left behind. Silk, pale blue. You slip it into your apron pocket, a tiny treasure. No one will miss it. It's the smallest rebellion, the quietest joy. You help with the final sweep, dusting the parlor, banking the fire. The night is closing in now, and the walls of the mansion seem to exhale with the end of the day. The floor creaks under your weight. Your shoulders slump. The silence feels heavier than before. Back in your attic room, you pull the blanket over yourself and let the darkness settle in. Your breath slows. Your hands are raw. Your back tight. But your thoughts are calm. You made it through. Another day in the mansion. Another day in the shadows. The morning after the party is colder than usual. Rain taps lightly against the attic window, a soft rhythm that almost lulls you back to sleep. Almost. But your body knows better. Rest is a luxury, not a right. You swing your legs over the side of the bed and stand. The soreness in your legs is deeper than yesterday, a creeping weight that won't lift. Your hands are stiff. Your knuckles cracked from the cold and endless scrubbing. You dress slowly, the fabric rough against your skin. One stocking has a hole near the toe, but you tuck it inside your boot and move on. You tie your apron in the half-light, then step into the corridor with the others, all as silent and tired as you. No one speaks. Words this early are wasted. Downstairs, the house feels different. Hungover, not from drink, but from activity. The rooms are still in disarray, decorations half removed, dirty glasses clustered on windowsills, a forgotten hairpin on the stair. The aftermath of celebration is somehow sadder than the party itself. You begin with the hallway, sweeping up pine needles and crumpled bits of paper. The smell of cake still lingers, heavy and sweet. It's too much. You open a window, letting in a gust of damp morning air. In the drawing room, the fire has gone cold. You kneel and clean out the ashes. Again. Always again. The repetition is grounding in its own way, like you're part of the bones of the house. A necessary hum. Later in the kitchen, cook is uncharacteristically quiet, her voice hoarse. She gestures to the mounds of dishes stacked by the sink. You roll up your sleeves and begin washing. The plates from last night's feast, the cutlery, the pans. You try not to let your thoughts wander, but they do. You think about how many hours you've spent washing dishes in this room. Thousands, more. Every plate touched by you and forgotten. Every goblet made to shine, admired only by the one who drinks from it, not the one who cleaned it. The new footman, James, you think his name is, bumps into you by accident. He murmurs an apology, then glances at your hands. You should wrap those, he says. You blink, surprised he noticed. No one usually does. You nod and say nothing. By mid-morning, the mistress calls for hot water. You carry it up, careful not to spill. She barely glances at you. Finally, she mutters, as if you've been dawdling. You bow your head. scent of lavender clings to the air, rich and sweet. Back downstairs, you scrub the scullery floor with a stiff bristled brush. You hum a tune softly under your breath, one your mother used to sing while mending clothes. It comforts you, makes the cold stone under your knees bearable. You think of her sometimes, not every day, but when you do, it's hard. You haven't seen her in years. Letters are rare, visits even rarer. You wonder if she'd recognize you now. If the girl who left you work at 16 still lives behind your tired eyes. Late afternoon, the sky darkens. Rain turns to a steady downpour. You help the groundskeeper carry in firewood. Your apron is soaked by the time you're done. He thanks you with a nod. One of the few small kindnesses in a day made mostly of silence and order. The house becomes quieter with the rain. It muffles the sound of footsteps. The ticking of the clock seems louder. You find yourself alone more often, wiping windowsills, collecting soiled linen, checking the pantry inventory. You don't mind the quiet. It allows your mind to wander. You imagine just for a moment what it would be like to walk through the front door instead of the servants' entrance, to wear one of the gowns you brush the dust from, to have your hair done for you, to sleep until you chose, not until the bell rang. But such thoughts are dangerous. They make the day heavier. They make the silence feel like chains. So you let them go. As evening falls, the kitchen fills again. The smell of stew simmers on the stove. The warmth is welcome. You sit for dinner with the others, your back sore, your fingers raw, your feet aching. But you smile, just a little, because the stew is hot, and the bread is fresh, and someone tells a joke that makes even cook chuckle. These are the moments you hold on to. Later, before bed, you mend your stocking with a needle and thread borrowed from the laundry maid. Your stitches are uneven, but strong. You tie a knot, snip the thread, and tuck the stocking under your thin pillow. You lie in bed listening to the rain, the wind tapping gently at the glass, and the soft rustle of blankets as the other girls settle into sleep. You think of the girl in the mirror this morning, tired, pale, invisible, and you whisper quietly to yourself, as if promising something. You were seen today, even if just by yourself. Another day, another bell. It rings through the corridors with its usual sharp insistence, and you rise before you're truly awake. The rain has stopped, but everything is damp. Your blanket, the window sill, the sleeves of your only clean shift. Still, you move without hesitation, without complaint. This is life. You step into your boots, tie your apron, and descend once more into the great belly of the house. It's laundry day. You dread it. The laundry room is always the coldest. Moisture clings to the walls and floor, and the windows fog from steam before the water even begins to boil. You and the other girls haul baskets of linens, sheets from 20 beds, towels from countless wash basins, napkins, tablecloths, undergarments, all steeped in a week's worth of wear. The process is mechanical, punishing. Soak, scrub, rinse, wring, dry, iron, fold, and stack. Each sheet takes muscle, each blouse, patience. There's no praise waiting at the end, just the next week's pile. You stir the copper boiler with a heavy wooden stick. The water hisses and pops, nearly scalding. Your arms ache, but there's no stopping. If it isn't done today, the whole system collapses. And in this house, systems are sacred. The laundry smells of lye and steam. You don't notice anymore. Later, while wringing water from a sodden petticoat, your hands slip. It lands on the floor with a wet thud, splashing your apron. You mutter under your breath and reach down, just as someone behind you chuckles. It's James again. Looks like the petticoat one, he teases softly, handing it back to you. You give a tired smile, only for a moment. There isn't time for real conversation, but those little exchanges help. In a life this structured, this unseen, even the smallest acknowledgement is a spark. You work steadily through the rest of the load. By mid-afternoon, you're hanging the lighter items to dry in the attic. The sun is weak but present, and for a few moments, the window throws a rectangle of warm light onto the floorboards. You pause beside it, letting your fingers stretch into the light. It feels almost like freedom. Almost. In the evening, the mistress has guests again. Not a full party, just a few ladies and their husbands. But the silver must shine, the parlor must sparkle, and you must move quietly behind the scenes, replacing empty cups, adjusting the fire, smoothing cushions that have barely wrinkled. At one point, one of the guests leaves her gloves behind. The butler asks you to return them. You knock gently at the drawing room door and step inside, bowing your head. She barely notices you, doesn't even say thank you, just takes them with a flick of her fingers, as if plucking them from thin air. You vanish again. You are the wall, the floor, the tray, the air. By the time the guests leave, it is dark. You're not done. The cups must be washed, the ashes cleared, the furniture returned to its original arrangement, not as the guests left it, but how the mistress prefers it. Even a single chair out of place is considered disorder. Only when every task is done, when the bell has stopped ringing and the house has settled into its sleeping hush, are you allowed to return upstairs. You peel off your wet apron, stretch your aching shoulders, and crawl into bed. Tomorrow is Sunday, a half day. That means you might get an extra hour of rest, maybe even time to mend your shift, or write a letter you've been meaning to send home for weeks. But for now, you let the silence carry you. You lie still, eyes open, staring at the wooden beams above you. And slowly, your breath evens out. The house is quiet. You disappear into sleep. And now, as you rest, allow your thoughts to drift gently away from the long corridors and echoing halls of that great Victorian house. The bells have stopped ringing. The hearths have gone cold. The silver is polished. The sheets folded. The candles snuffed one by one. You are no longer rushing up the servants' stairs, no longer scrubbing boots or carrying trays. You are not waiting for the mistress's call or the butler's nod. There are no linens to press, no coals to carry, no guests to observe you without seeing you. There is only this moment now, quiet, still, and soft. The weight of the day fades slowly from your shoulders, like the last wisps of steam rising from the laundry basin. Your hands, no longer aching, rest gently beside you. The air around you is warm, not with the fire of labor, but the comfort of calm. The kind of calm that only comes when the world stops asking things of you. Breathe in and exhale. You've walked the halls of history, seen the world through the eyes of someone forgotten by time, someone who bore burdens with grace and grit. And yet, even in those heavy footsteps, you found strength, routine, and rare, quiet dignity. And now, you return, not to scrubbing floors or serving soup, but to your own room, your own bed. Tonight, you sleep in your own story, not in someone else's shadow. Let the echoes of yesterday fade like distant footsteps down an old stone hallway. Let the soft ticking of time slow and stretch. You are here, you are still, and you are at rest. Sleep well, dream softly, and may your night be gentle.